Hello, I'm Laura McPhee, a reporter at Pensions Insight and Engaged Investor magazines, and I'm here with Bob Compton, Managing Director at ARC Benefits. Very nice to have you here.
Thank you, Laura, for inviting me here.
Good, you're very welcome. So I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions about governance. What does good governance mean?
Good governance is basically, from a pension fund perspective, making sure that the processes and the policies and the protocols that are there to run and manage the pension scheme from the trustee's perspective and from the company perspective actually work, actually deliver benefits to members at the appropriate time, at the right time, and that the management of the pension scheme is efficient and effective. So if you have that in place, then you have good governance. But so that's my definition, basically, making sure the pension scheme is running efficiently.
Great. And how can you demonstrate that to the Pensions Regulator?
Okay, that gets very difficult to do. And in fact, it's a $64,000 question. You've got to have appropriate controls in place. Now, to be able to demonstrate to the regulator you've got appropriate controls, you need to have fundamentally systems in place to be able to demonstrate that you have a methodology for checking what you have. You've actually asked questions about how you put your policies into practice. Very often the policies and the practice don't actually meet, so how often do you check these things? And fundamentally, life has become so complicated with the number of regulations and laws that have been passed over the last 10-15 years, it's virtually impossible for any organisation to be totally on top of absolutely everything. So the issue then is, how can you put in place processes to be able to ensure that whatever level you're at, you understand where you're at and how you can then make improvements to get to a higher standard, or if you've already reached a higher standard, how you maintain that standard. So you do actually need systems in place.
So what can pension schemes actually do to make sure that their policies match up with their practices?
Again, a very good question, Laura. It's actually very important to question from time to time, to double check. What are your policies? How are they actually run in practice? Do people actually understand what the policies are, what they're meant? You don't really want to lock up a policy document in a filing cabinet for 2 or 3 years, then to find actually people who knew about it, they're just doing their own thing in the way they want to do it. So it's about control, managing without overly being prescriptive about control, but actually trying to check, does the practice actually meet the policy? And if it doesn't quite meet, should the policy be changed to meet the practice? Or should there be training involved in trying to encourage people to adopt the policy that should be actually there and enforced? You can only do that if you're on top of the two, and that's quite difficult to do.
Well, thank you very much for that, Bob.